Meanwhile, the team, because of James Harden, his 25 last night, they pick up their 14th win of the season. Second time they've won 14 in a row already this season, which in and of itself is a tremendous feat.
Yep.
Nick, are the Rockets the best team in the NBA right now?
Right now, they absolutely are.
Ooh.
Right now, the Houston Rockets are the best team in the NBA.
Absolutely.
Right now, the Houston Rockets have, per Basketball Reference, the best offense in the history of the NBA.
Rating,
offensive efficiency. And it is important to note, there is not a recency bias to that stat. The rest of the top five is a Celtics team in the 80s, a Lakers team in the 80s, a mid-90s Bulls team, and the Warriors team from last year. So it's not just all last year's Warriors this year. Yeah. You know, it is some of the greatest teams of all time. This Rockets team has the best record in the league, not only against everyone, but the best record in the league against teams above 500. They're 26-9. This Rockets team is 10-1 against the cream of the crop in the NBA. Golden State, Cleveland, Minnesota, San Antonio. I mentioned Minnesota, San Antonio. One of those two teams likely second-round series. Obviously, Golden State likely third-round series. And then Cleveland, the likely NBA final series if they were to get there. So I don't see a flaw on the team right now. The only criticism you can find for the Rockets is about things that haven't happened yet. How will D'Antoni do in the playoffs? How will Harden and Paul do in the playoffs? But up to this point, 75% of the way through the season, they have been the best team in the NBA.
Now, I believe this year's Warriors, are they in the top five on Basketball Reference?
I think
Last
they're
year's
sixth.
were, okay.
They're right. This year's Warriors are right there.
It's interesting because I was looking at that as well. Now, the ESPN John Hollinger stats actually has
slight difference.
Yeah, Golden State as the best team offensively this year in offensive efficiency.
They're historic in
Basketball
both things. It's because of the way you determine pace.
Yeah.
So there's a slight different methodology. But either way, we could parse it.
They're historic.
Historically great offense.
But no, they're not the best team. First of all, you don't become the best team in the league in February. You know, it's just how it is. Now, if they prove that they're the best by winning the championship, okay. But think about Golden State in 2015. When they won 67 games and were about to start this run, nobody was giving them they're the best team in the league. Having the best record means nothing. In most years, the teams, I don't know if it's most years, but many years, the team with the best record doesn't win the championship. I don't think that Miami Heat team of LeBron and D. Wade ever won more than 57 games. But they were clearly best. His two best records, 66 wins, 61 wins in Cleveland, they didn't even get to the finals.
Didn't make the finals.
So the regular season doesn't matter in terms of has the best record being the best team. You have to prove it in the postseason. Because regular season, here's the thing. You catching some teams on back-to-back nights. You're catching some teams with injuries. You're catching some teams when you're flying on a long road trip. In the playoffs is when it's a 7-game series, no back-to-back.
Everyone's
That's
rested.
when you find out who the better teams are. And I'll look at talent. Who has more talent, Golden State or Houston? Golden State. Clearly. I mean, they got 2 of the top 3 players, 4 All-Stars. You know, it's not even close. You look at balance. Now, Houston is a top 10 team defensively and has improved dramatically in that side of the ball, but Golden State is top 5. They're 5th best defense in the league, right there offensively, depending on whose metric you use. So the one thing Houston has that Golden State doesn't is the best big man of the two teams, and that's Clint Capella. He needs to start getting some love. I could see him, if he keeps this up and they go deep in the playoffs, he could be an all-star next year. Well, and that's saying a lot in the West.
He might be most improved.
Too much in the West,
might be most improved player in the league this year.
He's in the top 10 in field goal percentage, where he's number 1, block shots, rebounds, and there's one more stat.
Don't tell
per
Kevin
PER,
Durant.
7th in PER. I mean, the dude is having a tremendous
Kevin Durant,
season.
though, says his job
Yeah,
is
KD
easy,
needs to reevaluate.
Keep this in mind. When we first opened up this basketball season, there were 2 teams we were looking at that had to deal with chemistry. It was the Thunder with those 3 guys they were going to have to figure out a way to work together, and it was the Rockets. Well, how is Chris Paul and James Harden going to work together? They both want the ball. They both are. the Warriors we knew had this team in place basically from last year. Does it mean anything? Does that factor into you at all, that the team has surprised you at least, that they've had to deal with a new sort of...
And I'd even add a third team that didn't deal with it well, Cleveland.
Cleveland.
After trading Kyrie.
Yeah,
Cleveland struggled for a long time. Oklahoma City struggled early. The Rockets were ready from the beginning. Go ahead.
No, I mean, look, they have surprised me because I didn't know that it would work this well with Chris Paul. I actually thought it would be better in the playoffs because Chris brings a mid-range game that they haven't had in the past few years that you're forced more to use in the playoffs than regular season. I thought they'd have their growing pains in the regular season. Obviously, I was wrong, and that has surprised me. But no, I can't say they're the best team in the league right now. I don't care what their record is.
Well, I disagree with you on how we looked at the Warriors the first year they won the title. Steph won the MVP. They were the favorites going into the playoffs. I think there were stories about one of the reasons LeBron was so upset his first year in Cleveland before they made the trades was he was watching the Warriors late night and was like, oh, my God. This team
that was after Golden State won it, though. Because I talked to LeBron right before that finals, and I went right before the 2015 finals. At the finals, I got him alone. I was like, do they remind you of the Spurs team in 2014 that just beat you guys because of the way they moved the ball, shoot the three? He chuckled. He's like, no.
They're not.
He's like, jump shooting teams, and he wasn't alone. Most of the league felt jump shooting teams don't win championships.
Fair enough. And maybe some people.
Nobody was. And even after they won it.
Because of the injuries Cleveland
people were
dealt with.
disrespecting
So just one more note on the Rockets, because the big news peg here is a 14-game winning streak. They're second of the season. A little historical context there's been 5 teams in modern NBA history. I'm going to throw out the 1947 Capitals, who also did it. 5 teams in the last 70 years in this league who have had multiple 14-game winning streaks. Here's what they did in the playoffs. The 71 Bucks did it. That was with prime young Kareem. Yeah. They won the title. The 86 Celtics did it. Some people think that's the best NBA team ever. They won the title. The 2000 Lakers did it. Peak Shaq, coming into his prime Kobe, they won the title. The 97 Jazz, they were tied in Game 6 of the finals and still Steve Kerr hit that jumper. So they came this close to winning the title. And the 07 Suns, coached, by the way, by, was it D'Antoni? No, was D'Antoni still there? D'Antoni, but that was the season. The Suns had Robert Horry, hip check Steve Nash, guys come off the bench. That team could have won the title.
If you won the West,
you were going to go. That was a huge moment in that when they lose Amari Stoudemire for a game due to the suspension. So the point is, it's happened 5 times in modern NBA history. 3 of the best teams ever, and they won the title. Another team that was tied in Game 6 in the waning moments, and another team that was potentially some suspensions away from winning the title. Now the Rockets have done it.
Go ahead.
Now the Rockets have done it.
That's it? You stopping there?
The Rockets right now are the best team in the NBA. Does not mean they will win the title, but right now they're the best team in the NBA.
There's a good chance we'll ask the question the exact same way tomorrow. Tomorrow, not even at the end of the month.
I wanted you to make that. I know Jeremiah's in you. Golden State there's no reason to believe Golden State is not better than the Rockets. And you said it yourself. If they began a playoff series, you said right now, if they began a playoff series today,
I know
Game 1 was tonight. Who would be favorite?
I know they'd be Golden State would be the favorite.
Because they're the better team.
I understand that they'd be the favorite, but
right? I mean, forget Las Vegas. Would you favor Golden State?
Would I right now if they played in a series? I think I'd favor the team that has home court. I think they're that close right now. I think
sure
they're that
not
close
just
right
saying
now.
that because you just argued that.
No, not at all. Like we're gonna see how. And by the way, I do think the 1 seed matters to Golden State. You can say, why would we not think the same thing in the East? Because as you mentioned, we have seen, whether it was Miami or Cleveland, repeatedly LeBron's team go on the road, whether it was against the Bulls or the Hawks, who both won 60 games, or last year the Celtics, repeatedly not be the 1 seed, win Game 1 of those series, and steal home court back. Golden State's never had to deal with that. I'm not saying they can't. What I'm saying is they have had the best record in the league every year, every year since this run began. And what everyone just assumes is, and maybe it'll be true, is that Golden State has another gear. Well, maybe I'm crazy. Now would be the time to hit it. The 1 seed does matter. Winning 73 games doesn't matter. Going 70-12, which they can't do anymore, that doesn't matter. But having home court, it's not just because, Chris, you get the 1 seed. It's because of the matchups. It's because if you are the 2 seed in the West, you might right now you'd have Oklahoma City in round 1. You might end up with the Spurs.
You're gonna have a tough matchup, 1 or 2.
But it's obviously the second round. Particularly if Kawhi comes back, the second round is much more difficult potentially as the 2 seed.
You get OKC. Let's say you get first seed gets OKC, second seed gets San Antonio. Those are still tough.
The second seed
or vice versa.
The second seed could get both of those teams though. OKC right now is the 7.
Well, all jammed
I just want to just a little context on these two because the reason we're having the discussion is, as you mentioned in the read, 2 separate 14-game winning streaks. All right, so that's happened 5 times in the last 70 years of professional basketball, okay? Here's what those teams have done. The 71 Bucks did it. They won the title. The 86 Celtics did it. They won the title, and that might be the greatest team ever. A lot of people believe the 1986 Celtics are the greatest team ever. The 2000 Lakers did it. They won the title romping over people. The 97 Jazz did it. They got to Game 6 of the NBA Finals, tied with 10 seconds left before Steve Kerr hit that jump shot. And the 07 Suns did it. That team, I think, could have won the title, maybe would have won the title. That was the year they dealt with the suspensions because Robert Horry hip-checked Steve Nash. That was another Mike D'Antoni team. That wasn't a choke. That wasn't anything. That was your guys getting suspended because they came off the bench.
But that's lack of attention to detail because San Antonio made sure their guys stayed on the bench.
Agreed. My point is, it's happened 5 times. 3 teams won the title. 1 team lost in Game 6 of the finals. Another team had suspensions alter the trajectory of their season. That's what the Rockets have done now.
The number 1 seed has never mattered to San Antonio. They've won championships being a very low seed. They've lost series when they had the number 1 seed and had home court advantage in the series. So for Golden State, look, I'm not saying they don't want the number 1 seed. They wouldn't like it. But that's not their main concern. Their main concern is being healthy and having great chemistry entering the playoffs.
If we all agree that Mike D'Antoni struggled in the postseason, what are you seeing in this team this year that I don't know, changes that up? Why do you think this is the year that they could actually do something in the second season?
Harden, this iteration of Harden, not very young Oklahoma City Thunder Harden, but Harden as a Rocket has never had a teammate like Chris Paul. Chris Paul in his whole career has never had a teammate like James Harden.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.